The galactic trade station called Volantis was very old. It had floated in space for thousands of years. Many different alien species had walked through its long corridors. They came to trade goods, share knowledge, and make deals with each other. The station was like a giant city in space, and it welcomed everyone who came in peace. The aliens who lived on Volantis came from many different worlds. The Rilvoxi were beautiful creatures made of living crystal. Their bodies were thin and delicate, like glass sculptures that could walk and talk. They came from a planet where gravity was very weak, only 1/3 of what humans felt on Earth. The Fenari were tall and thin, standing almost 3 meters high on legs that looked like sticks. They moved slowly and carefully, as if they might break. The Tarathi had 6 legs and flat bodies. They thought any gravity above half of Earth's was too heavy to survive. All these aliens had one thing in common. They all believed that strong gravity was dangerous. To them, a planet with heavy gravity was a death world. Nothing intelligent could evolve there. Nothing could survive the constant crushing weight. When the Galactic Council first learned about Earth, they were confused. Their scientists had measured Earth's gravity at 1 g. This was 2 or 3 times stronger than most inhabited worlds. The aliens felt sorry for whatever poor creatures lived there. They imagined primitive beasts crawling on their bellies, unable to stand against the terrible weight of their own world. But then Earth sent radio signals into space. The signals carried mathematics, music, and pictures. The pictures showed creatures that walked upright on 2 legs. The Galactic Council was shocked. How could anything stand up straight on such a heavy world? Now, after years of long-distance communication, Earth was sending its first delegation to Volantis. The aliens gathered near Docking Bay 7 to see these strange heavy world creatures with their own eyes. Ambassador Velrus of the Rilvoxi stood at the front of the crowd. Her crystal body caught the light and sparkled with many colors. She had served as ambassador for 60 years. She had met hundreds of different species, but she had never met anyone from a world as heavy as Earth. They must be very small, she said to the Fenari standing beside her. Small and flat to survive such weight. Trade Minister Areth nodded his long head. He was Fenari, nearly 3 meters tall, and he had to bend down to hear the ambassador. I have studied their transmissions, he said. They appear to be medium-sized. But that seems impossible. Perhaps their images are not accurate. We will see soon enough, Velrus replied. The airlock made a loud hissing sound. Everyone in the crowd stopped talking. They leaned forward, trying to see into the dark opening of the docking bay. The door began to slide open. Lieutenant Park Yuna stood in the doorway. She was a young woman from Korea, a country on Earth. She had black hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. Her face was calm, but her heart was beating fast. This was the most important moment in human history. She was the first human to ever set foot on an alien space station. She wanted everything to go perfectly. Yuna looked out at the crowd of aliens. They were strange and beautiful. Crystal people and tall stick people and creatures with too many legs. She smiled and raised her hand in greeting. Then she stepped forward onto the station floor. The moment her boot touched the deck, something terrible happened. The metal floor under her foot bent and cracked. A loud sound echoed through the docking bay like breaking ice. Spider web lines spread outward from where she stood. The deck plating, made from the strongest metal the aliens had, shattered like thin glass under her weight. Yuna froze in place. Her eyes went wide with horror. She looked down at the damage under her boot and felt her stomach drop. The crowd of aliens screamed. They turned and ran in every direction. Some of them fell over in their panic. Others pushed against each other, trying to escape. Ambassador Velrus was carried backward by the fleeing crowd, her crystal body making ringing sounds as she bumped against others. Wait, Una called out. "Please wait. I am sorry. It was an accident." But nobody was listening. Within seconds, the docking bay was empty. Una stood alone in the middle of the cracked floor, her hands still raised in a greeting that nobody would return. She touched the communication device on her wrist. "Captain Kang? We have a problem." Back on the human ship Soul's Pride, Captain Kang Do-hyun sat in his command chair. He was an older man with gray hair at his temples and a calm face. He had prepared for many possible problems with first contact. Alien diseases, misunderstandings about language, even hostility. But he had not prepared for this. "What kind of problem, Lieutenant?" he asked. "I broke their floor, sir." There was a long silence on the communication channel. "You did what?" "I stepped off the ship and the floor cracked under my boot. The aliens ran away. I think they are afraid of me." Una's voice was shaking. "Sir, I do not understand what happened. I was walking normally." Captain Kang leaned back in his chair and thought about this. He remembered the reports from Earth scientists. The station maintained a gravity of 0.4 for the comfort of its residents, less than half of Earth's gravity. And the aliens had evolved on worlds even lighter than that. He began to understand. "Lieutenant Park, stay exactly where you are. Do not move around. Do not touch anything." "Yes, sir." "The problem is not you. The problem is that everything on that station was built by creatures who have never experienced gravity like ours. Their strongest metals are weak by our standards. Their bodies are fragile. To them, you are like a giant made of stone." Una looked down at her hands. She was not a large woman. Back home, she was considered average size. She worked out at the gym to stay healthy, but she was not especially strong by human standards. But here, on this station built for creatures of crystal and air, she might as well be a monster. "What do I do, Captain?" she asked quietly. "Stay calm. Stay still. I am sending Corporal Shin to assist you. We will figure this out." Una nodded even though no one could see her. She stood in the empty docking bay with broken floor beneath her feet and waited. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear alarms ringing. The aliens were afraid of her. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. The station's security forces arrived 20 minutes after the incident. They came in groups of 6, wearing armor and carrying weapons that glowed with strange energy. They moved slowly and carefully, keeping their distance from the human woman who stood perfectly still in the middle of the broken floor. "Lieutenant," Park Una raised her hands to show she was not a threat. "I come in peace," she said slowly. "The damage was an accident. I did not mean to cause harm." The security guards did not answer. Their leader, a Tarathi with 6 legs and hard shell covering his body, pointed toward a doorway. "You will come with us, Earth creature. The Council demands it." Una nodded and began to walk. With each step, the floor groaned under her weight. The security guards jumped backward whenever she moved. She tried to walk as lightly as possible, placing each foot down gently, but it did not seem to help. The aliens watched her like she was a wild animal that might attack at any moment. They took her to a cargo hold deep inside the station. The room had thick walls made of reinforced metal. It was designed to hold heavy mining equipment from asteroid ships. The security leader pushed her inside, and the door slammed shut behind her. Una was alone. She sat down on a large metal crate. The crate made a loud creaking sound under her weight, but it held together. She put her face in her hands and tried not to cry. She was a soldier. She had trained for years to represent Earth on this mission. And now she was sitting in a prison cell because she had walked too heavily. Through the thick walls, she could hear voices. The aliens were talking about her. She could not understand all the words, but she caught pieces of the conversation. "Weapon, someone said. Sent to destroy us. Did you see the floor? Solid durasteel, and she broke it like paper. The humans must be planning an invasion. Why else send such a creature? Yuna wanted to shout that she was not a weapon. She was just a normal person. But she stayed quiet. Shouting would only make things worse. An hour passed. Then another. Finally, the door opened and a familiar face appeared. Corporal Shinmai-Rei stepped into the cargo hold, followed by two very nervous alien guards. Mai-Rei was shorter than Yuna, but built with solid muscle. She had grown up on a farm in Korea, carrying heavy things and working hard since childhood. Earth's gravity had made her strong without her even trying. Lieutenant, Mai-Rei said with a small smile. You look tired. How did you get in here? Captain Kang spoke to the station council. They agreed to let me bring you food and supplies. Mai-Rei held up a bag. Also, I am supposed to assess the situation. The alien guards stayed near the door, watching both humans with wide eyes. Mai-Rei glanced at them and lowered her voice. They are terrified of us. When I walked through the corridor, everyone moved to the walls to let me pass. One of them fainted when I sneezed. I broke their floor, Yuna said miserably. By walking, I know. Mai-Rei sat down on another crate, which also groaned but held firm. I have been thinking about this. The station is built by species who evolved in very low gravity. Their strongest materials are probably like aluminum or thin steel to us. Their bodies are even more fragile. Yuna looked at her hands again. So we are too heavy for this place. Not just heavy, dense, strong. Mai-Rei picked up a small piece of broken equipment from the floor. It was made of metal that the aliens considered very hard. She squeezed it between her fingers, and it bent easily, like soft clay. See? This is their strong metal. To us, it is nothing. That does not help our situation. The aliens think we are monsters. Maybe. Mai-Rei put down the bent metal. But maybe we can show them the truth. We are not here to hurt anyone. We just come from a different kind of world. The door opened again. This time, Ambassador Velrus entered the cargo hold. Her crystal body was beautiful, even in the dim light of the storage room. She moved slowly, carefully, keeping as much distance from the humans as possible. I am Ambassador Velrus, she said. Her voice was like wind chimes ringing. I speak for the Galactic Council on this station. Yuna stood up quickly. The floor shook slightly under her movement. Velrus took a step back in fear, but forced herself to stop. Ambassador, I am truly sorry for the damage I caused. It was not intentional. I did not know that your floor would break under my weight. That is what concerns us. Velrus studied the human woman with eyes that sparkled like diamonds. You broke reinforced durasteel with a single step. You did not even notice you were doing it. What else might you break without meaning to? What else might you destroy? Nothing, Yuna said firmly. We came here in peace. We want to trade and learn. We want to be friends with the galactic community. Friends? Velrus made a sound that might have been a laugh. How can we be friends with creatures who could crush us without trying? How can we trust you when your very existence is a threat to our safety? Mai-Rei stepped forward. The alien guards raised their weapons, but she stopped and raised her hands peacefully. Ambassador, may I speak? Velrus nodded slowly. On Earth, we do not think of ourselves as dangerous. We are ordinary people. Farmers and teachers and scientists as soldiers. We raise families. We build cities. We dream of exploring the stars. Mai-Rei paused. We did not choose to evolve on a heavy world. We did not choose to be dense and strong. It is simply how nature made us. That does not change what you are. No, but it might change how you see us. Mai-Rei looked directly at the ambassador. We know we are different from you. We will be very careful while we are here. We will walk slowly. We will not touch things that might break. We will do everything we can to avoid causing harm." Valorous was quiet for a long moment. Her crystal body flickered with inner light as she thought about the human's words. "The council will meet tomorrow to decide your fate," she finally said. "Until then, you will remain here. Both of you." She turned and left the cargo hold. The door closed behind her with a heavy sound. Una sat back down on the crate. "That did not go well." "It went better than expected," Mireille replied. "She listened to us. She did not order us killed on the spot. Is that our standard for success now? Not being killed?" Mireille smiled sadly. "For first contact with terrified aliens?" "Yes, I think so." The two humans sat together in the cargo hold and waited for morning. Somewhere outside, the alien council was gathering to discuss what to do with the dangerous creatures from the heavy world called Earth, the future of humanity's place among them. Stars hung in the balance dot and all because Una had taken one step too heavily. The council chamber was the largest room on Volantis Station. It had been built 5,000 years ago when the station was young. The walls were made of a special glass that showed the stars outside. The floor was a beautiful pattern of colored stones from 100 different worlds. At the center of the room sat a great round table where representatives from every species could meet and discuss important matters. Today, the chamber was packed with aliens. They filled every seat and stood along the walls. Everyone wanted to see the humans with their own eyes. Everyone wanted to understand what kind of creatures had come from the heavy world called Earth. Ambassador Valorous sat at the head of the table. Beside her sat representatives from the Fanari, the Tarathi, the Karathi, and a dozen other species. They all watched the door with nervous eyes. The door opened slowly. Lieutenant Park Una entered first, walking so carefully that each step took 3 seconds. Behind her came Corporal Shin Mireille, and behind Mireille came a third human, a woman the aliens had not seen before. Dr. Choi Hana was a scientist who studied alien life. She had spent 20 years preparing for this moment. She carried a small device that could project images into the air. Her face was calm and friendly. She smiled at the gathered aliens, even though most of them looked terrified of her. "Please," Valorous said, pointing to 3 chairs that had been specially reinforced. "Sit. The council will hear what you have to say." The 3 humans sat down very slowly. The chairs made groaning sounds, but held together. "First," Una said, "I want to apologize again for the damage I caused. I promise you, it was not intentional. We did not know that your materials were so different from ours. That is what we wish to understand," said Trade Minister Orath, the tall Finari. "How can beings from any world be so heavy, so dense? Our scientists have studied your transmissions. Your bodies should not be possible." Dr. Choi Hana leaned forward. "May I explain? I am a scientist. I have studied the differences between human bodies and the bodies of other species we have learned about." Valorous nodded. "Speak." Hana activated her device. A glowing image appeared in the air above the table. It showed a human skeleton, every bone visible in bright white light. "This is a human skeleton," Hana said. "Please notice how thick the bones are, how solid and dense. Now, let me show you something else." She pressed a button. A second skeleton appeared next to the first. This one was delicate and thin, like a sculpture made of wire. "This is a Rilvoxy skeleton, based on information from your medical databases. You can see the difference clearly. The Rilvoxy skeleton is designed for a world with very low gravity. It is light and efficient. It does not need to be strong because it does not need to support much weight." The aliens in the room murmured among themselves. Ambassador Valrus leaned closer to study the images. Our skeleton, Hana continued, is designed for Earth. Earth has a gravity of 1g. This means that every moment of every day, our bodies are fighting against a force trying to pull us down. From the moment a human baby is born, their bones are growing thicker and harder. Their muscles are getting stronger. Their heart is pumping harder to push blood up against gravity's pull. You are saying that your world made you this way? Valrus asked. Yes, we did not choose to be dense and strong. We had no choice. Any creature on Earth that was not strong enough simply died. Over millions of years, only the strongest survived. We are the result of that process. Another alien spoke up. It was Commander Tavik of the Karathi, a large creature with 4 arms and thick gray skin. The Karathi were the heaviest species on the station. They came from a world with 0.7g gravity, and they considered themselves the strongest people in the galaxy. I have a question, Tavik said. His voice was deep and rough. You say your world has 1g of gravity, but you move like the gravity does not bother you. You walk and run and jump. How is this possible if you are constantly fighting such terrible weight? Hana smiled. Because we are used to it. We have never known anything else. To us, Earth's gravity feels normal. We do not even think about it. She pressed another button on her device. The image changed to show a human running, then jumping, then lifting heavy objects. On Earth, we have sports where people run very fast, jump very high, and lift very heavy weights. Our strongest athletes can lift over 400 kilograms above their heads. Our fastest runners can move at 44 kilometers per hour. We do these things for fun. The room went completely silent. The aliens stared at the images with expressions of shock and disbelief. 400 kilograms? Orth whispered. That is more than my entire body weight. Many times more. Yes, Hana nodded. And the lieutenant here is not even close to being our strongest human. She is average. Normal by our standards. Yuna felt uncomfortable with everyone staring at her. It is true, she said quietly. On Earth, I am nothing special. I exercise to stay healthy, but I am not an athlete. I am not a weightlifter. I am just a regular person. A regular person who broke our strongest floor with a step, Valrus said. Yes, and I am truly sorry for that. I did not know. Yuna spread her hands helplessly. We did not understand how different our worlds really are. We thought that because you had space travel and technology, you would be similar to us. We were wrong. Commander Tavik stood up from his seat. His 4 arms were crossed over his chest. You say you are average. You say you are not special. But you come here and break things without trying. You show us images of humans lifting impossible weights. How do we know you are not lying? How do we know this is not a trick to frighten us into surrender? We are not here to conquer, Myre said firmly. We have nothing to gain from frightening you. Then prove it. Tavik took a step toward the humans. The other aliens flinched, but the humans remained still. Prove that you are what you say you are. Show us this strength you claim to have. Yuna and Myre exchanged glances. Dr. Choi Hana looked worried. What kind of proof do you want? Yuna asked. Tavik smiled, showing teeth that were like small stones. My people have a tradition. A test of strength. Let one of you take this test against one of us. Then we will see the truth. Valrus stood up quickly. Commander, I do not think that is wise. If the humans are telling the truth, such a test could be dangerous. Dangerous for whom? Tavik laughed. The Karathi are the strongest species in the known galaxy. If these Earth creatures are truly as powerful as they claim, we will see it. If they are lying, we will see that too. He turned to face Yuna directly. What do you say, human? Will you accept the challenge? Or will you admit that your stories are just tricks and lies? Yuna looked at the massive alien standing before her. He was much bigger than her. He had 4 arms to her too. He clearly thought he would win easily. She thought about everything that depended on this moment. Humanity's future. The chance for peace between Earth and the galactic community. The opportunity to show that humans could be trusted. She took a deep breath. I accept your challenge, she said. The room erupted in noise. Some aliens cheered. Others gasped in fear. Ambassador Velrus closed her eyes and shook her head. Whatever happened next would change everything. The news spread through Valanthus Station like fire through dry grass. Within hours, everyone knew about the challenge. A human would compete against Commander Tevik of the Karathi in a test of strength. Nothing like this had ever happened before. The station's central arena was a huge open space that had not been used for physical competition in many years. Most species had moved past such primitive displays. They preferred games of the mind, battles of words and ideas. But the Karathi remembered the old ways. They still valued strength above all else. Dot workers spent the night preparing the arena. They reinforced the floor with the thickest metal plates available. They installed special seats for the different species who would watch. They set up cameras so that everyone on the station could see the contest. Even those who could not fit in the arena. Lieutenant Park Yuna did not sleep that night. She sat in the cargo hold with Myray and Dr. Choi, trying to prepare for what was coming. Tell me about this test, she said. What exactly will I have to do? Dr. Choi had been researching the Karathi traditions since the challenge was announced. It is called the Weight of Worlds. The Karathi have been doing it for thousands of years. It is how they choose their leaders and prove their worth. What is the weight of worlds? A sphere made of compressed neutronium. Very dense, very heavy. The Karathi use it to test their strongest warriors. Choi looked at her datapad. According to their records, the sphere weighs approximately 500 kilograms. Yuna's eyes went wide. 500 kilograms? That is more than I have ever lifted in my life. I know. Choi looked worried. The current record is held by Commander Tavik himself. He lifted it to his chest and held it there for 3 seconds. 3 seconds? Yes. No other Karathi has ever held it for longer than 2 seconds. Most cannot lift it at all. Yuna stood up and walked around the small room. Her footsteps made the floor shake slightly. I am not a weightlifter. I train for endurance, not strength. I run, I swim. I do basic military fitness exercises. You also live on a planet where everything weighs more than 2 times what it weighs here, Myray said. Your basic fitness is extraordinary by their standards. But 500 kilograms? Yuna shook her head. I do not know if I can do this. You do not have a choice now. Choi put down her datapad. If you refuse or fail, the aliens will think humans are weak or liars. Either way, it will be bad for first contact. And if I succeed, then they will know we told the truth. They might still fear us, but at least they will respect us. Yuna closed her eyes and thought about home. She thought about the gym on the military base where she had trained. She remembered lifting weights with her fellow soldiers, pushing herself to be stronger and faster. She thought about running up hills, swimming against currents, doing push-ups until her arms burned. All of that training had happened on Earth, in full gravity, fighting against a force that was more than twice as strong as what she felt now on this station. Maybe she could do this after all. Tell me everything about their lifting technique, she said. I want to know exactly how they hold the sphere, how they stand, how they breathe. Everything. Dr. Choi smiled and picked up her datapad again. Let us begin. The next morning, the arena was full. Every seat was taken. Thousands of aliens crowded together to watch the strange creature from Earth try to lift the weight of worlds. Ambassador Velrus had a seat at the front, near the council's viewing box. She watched the empty arena floor with mixed feelings. Part of her hoped the human would succeed and prove that Earth's people were honest. Another part of her hoped the human would fail. A species that could lift 500 kilograms was a species that could do terrible damage if they chose to become enemies. The doors on one side of the arena opened. Commander Tavik walked out to thunderous cheers from the Karathi in the crowd. He was huge, even by Karathi standards. His forearms were thick with muscle. His gray skin was decorated with marks that showed his many victories. He walked to the center of the arena where a platform had been set up. On the platform sat the weight of worlds. It was a perfect black sphere, about half a meter wide. It did not look special, but everyone knew what it contained. Compressed matter so dense that it weighed as much as 5 adult Karathi put together. Tavik raised all 4 arms and roared to the crowd. They roared back. He was their champion, their hero. No one in living memory had ever matched his strength. The doors on the other side of the arena opened. Lieutenant Park Yuna walked out alone. She looked small compared to the arena. Small compared to Tavik. She wore simple clothes, nothing like armor or a uniform. Just a gray shirt and black pants. Her feet were bare. The council had insisted that both competitors be equal, with no special equipment to help them. The crowd made various sounds. Some laughed. Some whispered. Some just stared in silence. Yuna walked to the center of the arena and stopped. A few meters from Tavik, she had to look up to meet his eyes. The Karathi commander was at least a meter taller than her. "You are very small," Tavik said. His voice boomed across the arena. "Are all humans so tiny?" "I am average size for a human woman," Yuna replied. Her voice was calm and steady. "We come in many shapes and sizes, just like other species." Tavik looked her up and down. "I expected more. After all your talk of heavy worlds and impossible strength, I expected something impressive. Appearances can be deceiving." Tavik laughed. It was a loud, booming sound. "We will see. The rules are simple. Each of us will try to lift the weight of worlds. Whoever lifts it higher or holds it longer wins. I will go first, so you can see how it is done." He turned to face the black sphere. The crowd went quiet. This was the moment they had been waiting for. Tavik bent his forelegs and reached out with all 4 arms. He wrapped his thick fingers around the sphere and took a deep breath. Then, with a great roar, he lifted. The weight of worlds rose from its platform. Tavik's muscles bulged under his gray skin. His legs shook with effort. He brought the sphere up to his chest and held it there. The crowd counted together. 1, 2, 3. Tavik dropped the sphere back onto the platform with a tremendous crash. He stumbled backward, breathing hard. Sweat covered his body, but he was smiling. 3 seconds. He shouted. "The record stands. Now, little human, show us what you can do." The crowd cheered and jeered. Many of them were already celebrating Tavik's victory. They did not believe the small human woman could possibly match their champion. Yuna walked forward until she stood before the weight of worlds. She looked at the black sphere for a long moment. It did not look that different from the weight she had lifted back home. Just bigger, heavier, but weight was relative. On Earth, everything was heavier. Her own body was heavier. The air was heavier. Even water was heavier. She had trained in that weight her entire life. Yuna bent her knees and reached out with both hands. She placed her fingers under the sphere, feeling its smooth surface. She took a deep breath and held it. Then she lifted and the weight of worlds rose from its platform like it was made of foam. The arena went completely silent. Lieutenant Park Yuna held the weight of worlds at her chest. Her arms were steady. Her legs were firm. She was not shaking. She was not struggling. She was simply standing there, holding 500 kilograms of compressed matter like it was a basket of vegetables from the market. Commander Tavik stared at her with his mouth hanging open. His forearms dropped to his sides. He could not believe what he was seeing. The crowd began to count, their voices shaking with shock. 1, 2, 3. Yuna did not drop the sphere. She continued to hold it. 4, 5, 6. Still, she held it. Her face showed effort now. Her jaw was tight, and her muscles were hard under her skin. But she did not let go. 7, 8, 9, 10. The counting stopped. The aliens did not know what to do. No one had ever held the weight of worlds for 10 seconds. No one had ever come close. Yuna took a slow breath and lifted the sphere higher. She raised it above her chest, above her shoulders, above her head. She held it there, arms fully extended, looking up at the black mass that had defeated every karate warrior for generations. The crowd gasped as one. 15 seconds, someone whispered. 20 seconds. Yuna's arms began to tremble. Sweat appeared on her forehead. She could feel her muscles burning with the effort. This was the hardest thing she had ever done. But she was not finished yet. 25 seconds. 30 seconds. Enough, she said through clenched teeth. She lowered the sphere slowly, carefully, and placed it back on the platform. The metal groaned under the weight but held firm. Yuna stepped back and took several deep breaths. Her arms felt like water. Her legs were weak. But she had done it. The silence stretched on and on. The thousands of aliens in the arena did not move or speak. They simply stared at the small human woman who had just done the impossible. Commander Tavik was the first to move. He walked toward Yuna with slow, heavy steps. His face was impossible to read. The other aliens watched nervously, afraid of what might happen next. Tavik stopped in front of Yuna. He was still much taller than her. He could have crushed her with his 4 powerful arms if he wanted to. Instead, he bowed his head. "I have been a warrior for 40 years, he said. His voice was quiet now, nothing like the booming roar from before. "I have fought in 12 battles. I have led armies. I have broken enemies with my bare hands. I thought I knew what strength was." He raised his head and looked into Yuna's eyes. "I was wrong. You have shown me true strength today, not just in your body, but in your courage. You accepted my challenge, even though you did not know if you could win. You came here alone, to a place full of people who feared you, and you faced that fear with honesty." Yuna did not know what to say. She had expected anger, maybe even attack. Not this. "You could have lied to us," Tavik continued. "You could have hidden your true abilities. You could have pretended to be weak to make us feel safe. Instead, you showed us exactly what you are. That takes courage." He extended one of his large hands toward her. The gesture was strange, coming from a Karathi, but Yuna understood what it meant. She reached out and took his hand. The crowd erupted in sound. Some aliens cheered. Others made noises of surprise or confusion. The Karathi warriors were stomping their feet in a rhythm that Yuna did not recognize but felt was important. Ambassador Varus stood up from her seat in the viewing box. Her crystal body was glowing brightly with emotion. She watched the human and the Karathi shake hands, and she felt something she had not expected to feel: hope. After the arena cleared, the council met again. This time, the atmosphere was very different. The aliens still looked at the humans with caution, but there was respect in their eyes now too. "You have proven your honesty," Velra said to the three humans sitting across the table from her. "We cannot deny what we saw today. Your species truly is as strong as you claimed." "We did not come here to show off our strength," Dr. Choi Hana replied. "We came here to make friends, to trade, to learn from each other. And what can we possibly offer you?" asked Trade Minister Orath, the tall Fanari. "You are stronger than us. Your bodies are designed for conditions we cannot survive. What do you need from species as fragile as ours?" Yuna leaned forward. "Knowledge, history, art, music, medicine, ideas." She smiled gently. "Strength is not everything. On Earth, we have learned that the most valuable things in life are not physical. They are the things we create with our minds and share with our hearts. Your species has traveled to stars for thousands of years," Myre added. "You have seen things we can only dream of. You have technologies we have never imagined. We want to learn from you. We want to grow together." Velris was quiet for a long moment. Then she made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You are very strange creatures," she said. "You could break us with your hands. You could crack our floors with your steps. You could lift our heaviest weights like toys. And yet you speak of art and friendship and learning. Is that not what makes us civilized?" Yuna asked. "On Earth, we have a saying. The strongest person in the room is not the one who can hit the hardest. It is the one who does not need to hit at all." Valoris considered this. Then she stood up and spread her crystalline arms wide. "The Galactic Council welcomes Earth to the community of worlds," she announced. "We will trade with you. We will learn from you. We will teach you what we know. And perhaps, in time, we will become friends." The other council members nodded their agreement. Even Commander Tavik, sitting among the Karathi representatives, raised one of his fists in approval. Yuna felt tears forming in her eyes. This was the moment they had worked so hard for. The moment humanity had dreamed of for centuries. They were no longer alone in the universe. They had found their place among the stars. Later that night, Yuna stood at a viewing window on Volantis Station. She looked out at the endless darkness filled with points of light. Each light was a sun. Each sun might have planets. Each planet might have life. Myre came and stood beside her. "What are you thinking about?" Yuna said quietly. "I am thinking about everyone on Earth who looked up at the stars and wondered if anyone was out there. Now we know. We are not alone. Does that make you happy?" Yuna smiled. "It makes me grateful. We almost ruined everything by breaking their floor. We could have been seen as monsters forever. Instead, we found understanding. We got lucky. Maybe, or maybe the universe wanted us to succeed." Yuna turned away from the window. "Come on, we have a lot of work to do. There are treaties to sign, cultures to learn, friendships to build, and floors to avoid breaking." Yuna laughed. It was the first real laugh she had allowed herself since arriving on the station. "Yes," she said, "and floors to avoid breaking." Together, the two humans walked back into the station. They walked slowly and carefully, placing each step with precision. The aliens they passed no longer ran away in fear. Some even nodded in greeting. It was a small beginning, but it was a beginning nonetheless. Humanity had taken its first step into a larger universe. And even though that step had cracked the deck, it had also opened a door that would never close again. The stars were waiting, and Earth was finally ready to answer.